our specimen for dissection and representative for class Amphibia. The species is an introduced frog in the Philippines. Its scientific name is Hoplobatrachus rugulosus, or in some, it's Hoplobatrachus chinensis. Okay, so if you're going to look at the anatomy of the frog, okay, so let's remove first the stick. So it is used to make the mouth of the frog open so we can see some of the structure. Okay, so this is the dorsal side and this is the ventral side. On the dorsal side, it has a pointed snout here, and this is the vent where the cloaca is located. Okay, so no mobile neck present for class amphibian or for the amphibian. So this is tailless. Okay. Other group of amphibians have the presence of tail. Okay. So this one at the snout, you would see the presence of a nostrils here and paired eyes with a film, transparent membrane that covers it. It's the nictitating membrane. Okay, and then as you go forward, downward, going caudal, you see a hump that is present here, the sacral hump. Okay. And then, so you have the limbs that is present. Okay, so on the upper limb, there's the upper arm and the forearm, somewhat shorter, with phalanges or digits at the end. The lower limbs, much longer, adapted for hopping for frogs. So the thigh, the shank, and the phalanges, which ends in web. Okay. So the web is used by frogs for swimming if they are underwater. Okay. Then all of this, of course, is supported by skeleton, by bone structure. Okay. On the ventral portion, you see that it's somewhat lightly colored as compared to the dorsal. Okay? And the warty skin for most of these frogs. Okay? Some frogs, they have smooth skin. And frogs have two types of respiration. So bucopharyngeal respiration and cutaneous respiration. So they make use of their skin for respiration purposes. And in the mouth, although these are parts of the digestive system, you can see here that presence of the tongue that is attached on the anterior portion. So when they release their tongue, they release the posterior part to get their food or insects. Then inside, inside is a slit, the glottis, okay, that goes towards the esophagus. It is bounded by a cartilage that makes up the larynx. Okay, so some structure here is an opening towards the eustachian tube. So one on both sides. Okay. And of course, this is the maxillary teeth. And on the surface here, if you're going to touch it, there's also a vomerine teeth that is present. Okay. Then all the other parts here would give a closed hinge for frogs when they close their mouth. Okay. Because it's very important so that food will not go out or escape when they close or when they capture it. Okay. So we're going to prepare it for dissection, but first you skin the frog. Okay. So you lay the frog on the dorsal side, upside down, and you can make a small slit. On the ventral portion. The fluid that comes out is the formalin. Okay. After making a slit, make sure that you use the blunt end of the scissor so as not to damage the underlying muscle. Okay, so technically look at the part of the skin where lots of blood vessels present, so it's highly vascularized to effectively use the cutaneous respiration for this species. Okay. Okay, so what you're going to do is you remove it slowly, and take note that there are some fascia that attaches the rest of the integument with the underlying muscle. So you can just remove it slowly, not to damage the muscles.
Okay na po.
Okay, so we'll start with the back muscle, dorsal side. Okay, so in between the tympanum, there's this big muscle here that covers the temporal bone. So that's the temporalis muscle. Okay, then as you go forward, there's this circular muscle that when you try to remove it, deflect it from the deeper muscle to reveal another one. Okay, the one that I'm deflecting is the dorsalis scapula. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one and deflect to reveal the underlying muscle at the bottom, which is the depressor mandibularis. There's okay, so
Other props.
okay, so this is the depressor mandibularis, and this one at the bottom is the dorsalis scapula. Okay, so the other one here on the top is the temporalis. Okay. Then as you go forward, or rather downward caudal, this one is the longissimus dorsi. It's parang triangular in shape. Okay. And on the side going caudal, this triangular shape that meets at the middle is the coccygeal iliacus. Okay. This small muscle here is the iliolumbaris. I'll change it to a different color. Makakita. Okay, so coccygeal iliacus. And this is the gluteus muscle. Okay, so just to go over, so temporalis, depressor mandibularis, going to trace it, it goes towards the mandible. Then this one here is the dorsalis scapula. Then longissimus dorsi, the iliolumbaris, this one, the blue, is the coccygeal iliacus. This muscle here is the gluteus, and this small muscle towards the vent is very small muscle, is the piriformis. Okay?
Alright.
Okay, so muscle of the upper arm, dorsal side. So this muscle here, okay, is the triceps brachii. This is the shoulder muscle, triangular in shape, the deltoid. Then this two muscle here, arm, is the triceps brachii. Okay, so this is the ulna side. Okay, so the muscle that covers the elbow is the anconeus. This muscle here on the ulna side is the extensor carpi ulnaris. And this muscle here on the radial side is the extensor digitorum communis. Extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor digitorum communis, triceps brachii, deltoid. Okay. Okay, so dorsal side muscle of the limbs. Okay, so the big one here for the thigh. So this one big muscle, which has supposedly 3 origin triceps femoris. Then if you're going to just deflect that, put it on the side, you will see a small muscle in here. That's the biceps femoris. Okay. This muscle here towards the inner thigh is the semimembranosus. This one. And this flap of muscle is the gracilis minor, which can also be seen on the ventral side. Okay, so let's spin. So triceps femoris, biceps femoris, semimembranosus, and gracilis minor. Okay, then muscle of the shank. So this big muscle, triangular in shape, all goes towards the tendon of Achilles, is the gastrocnemius, okay, which can also be seen on the ventral side. Okay. This flat of muscle here, flat muscle, is the peroneus. Okay. So this is again on the dorsal side. So peroneus can be seen on the dorsal side. Gastrocnemius can also be seen on the ventral side. Okay. Okay, so we'll start identifying muscle on the ventral side. Okay, already cut some of the muscle, and we're going to go through starting with the muscle that is just below the jaw. Okay, so this muscle here with the striations that runs from the edge of the jaw is the mylohyoid. Okay, so this cut muscle. You're just going to cut it from this portion here down to reveal the underlying muscles. I'll pin this one here on the side to reveal the underlying muscles. So there's two muscles here. The one that runs downwards, posterior, is the hypoglossus. So this is the hypoglossus. Okay, so there's two of this on the right and left side. So hypoglossus, and another muscle here on the side. Okay, a very thin muscle just like mylohyoid is the geniohyoid. Okay, then as you go down posterior caudal, so this is the previously identified deltoid, and there's a muscle that runs from the radial side to the sternum, the sternoradialis. Okay. Okay, next are the pectoralis muscle. So the pectoralis muscle runs downward. Okay. So this one here is the anterior pectoralis, but in the manual it says cutaneous pectoralis. These are major pectoralis group, the pectoralis major, but for some it is identified as middle and posterior pectoralis. So there's anterior, middle, and posterior pectoralis, but we'll use the terminology cutaneous pectoralis and pectoralis major. This muscle here on the abdomen is the rectus abdominis. Okay, so it's separated in the middle by the linea alba. Okay, so this is the rectus abdominis, and
the linea alba.
Linea alba is the middle part. Okay, that one is darkly colored because of the ventral abdominal vein that is present. Okay, not in the book, but this is actually another set of muscle that separates one from each other. That's the inscriptionist tendinae. Okay, so it separates, it shows metamerism, and it's separate one from the other. Inscriptionist tendinae and linea alba is an origin insertion of this group of muscle. Okay. On the side, with striation that runs oblique, okay, is the external oblique. Okay. External oblique, if you're going to deflect that one, there are two other muscles beneath, but we're not going to do that one, but just for the purpose of information, there's internal oblique at the bottom and transversus abdominis. Okay, then we move on to first to the arms. Okay, so it's arms. So the dorsal side is extensor, the ventral side is the flexor group of muscles. So the same basis, the elbow. Okay, so that's the ulna side. So this is the flexor carpi ulnaris and the flexor carpi radialis. Okay, seen here is this muscle, very small muscle, but this is actually an extensor carpi radialis. Okay, so could also be seen here. Okay. So flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor carpi radialis, and extensor carpi radialis. Okay, so 3 muscle for the arms, and then we'll go to the legs. Okay, so for the legs, this thin flap of muscles that I already removed is the sartorius. Okay, so you have to remove that one or deflect that one in order to reveal the underlying muscle. Okay. So the underlying muscle includes now this big muscle here, the adductor longus. Longus because it's long. This is actually a bigger muscle also, the adductor magnus. Then this is the gracilis major with the gracilis minor found on the inner thigh. Okay. So tries the adductor longus, adductor magnus, semimembranosus, and then the gracilis. Okay. Okay, muscle of the shank. Okay, so for the muscle of the shank, so we already identified previously that one, so that's the gastrocnemius. Okay, so in here, the point of reference now is this bone. That's the tibia bone. Okay, so on this side, you will see that there is a small muscle. Okay, so that muscle is the tibialis posterior. Okay. Then that's the tibia bone. This small muscle here that's triangular in shape is the extensor cruris. And this muscle on the posterior side, on the on the side of the extensor cruris is the tibialis anterior. Tibialis anterior. Okay. So the basis is the tibia bone. In between is tibialis posterior. This one. Tibia bone. This is extensor cruris, and then this is tibialis anterior. Okay? Kuha?
Okay naman.
Okay. We're going to study now the internal organs. So the internal organs will include organ system for digestion, for respiration, for urogenital, okay, as well as for circulatory. So you can just actually make a slit, okay, on the ventral portion starting from the jaw area downwards, okay. So at this area here, it's kind of difficult because of the presence of sternum. Okay, so down, okay, down towards the posterior region. Okay, so you may use the scissor with the blunt end inside.
Ang dami pang fluid.
You can put a window by cutting on the side.
Grabe na livers na. Kaya siya malaking palawa. Ay, kami na lang magsalita. Naka-record pa. Yun.
Okay, so when you open the frog, okay, you would the visceral organ is revealed, but you can actually see some cavity that is present in the area. Okay, so most of the organ for digestion is found in the abdominal cavity. So this is the pericardial cavity for the heart. Okay, so the one that covers it is the pericardial sac, which you can actually cut to reveal the heart inside. Okay, so seen here, you would see some fats, visceral fat that covers the part of the heart. Okay. I'm going to remove this. Okay. So this structure that I cut is the heart. I cut it on a section that will reveal the chambers. So this thick portion here is the ventricle, and that one on the top are the atrium. Okay, so you see that this is still blood that is present. Okay. Okay. On the side here is the lungs. Okay, so there's another one here on the other side. That one is the lungs. Okay, then just deflect the organ on the side so you can see some parts. Okay, so this J-shaped structure is the stomach that is actually connected to an esophagus, straight esophagus towards the opening here, the glottis. Okay, so food goes to the esophagus, then to the stomach. Okay, so let's start with the digestive system. Okay, so this big structure here, lobular, is the liver. Okay, and this one here is the gallbladder. Okay, so the gallbladder, the liver, this is the stomach. Okay, then it tapers towards the end to the coiled small intestine. So this is the small intestine, called the small intestine. Okay, so that part of the stomach that goes towards the small intestine is the duodenum. Okay, then goes to the small intestine. Then if you're going to lift the stomach, this structure here is the pancreas, that whitish organ, the mesentery, okay, of the gastrohepatoduodenal ligament is the pancreas. Okay, then this is the coiled small intestine, and then it tapers to a rather much straight large intestine. So this is the large intestine, straight coiled structure, small intestine, then stomach. Okay. This one here, these are actually eggs. Okay, so this is a female, so these are eggs now that is really ready to be released outside for external fertilization. Okay, then this coiled structure, whitish coiled structure, is the oviduct. Okay. These are fat bodies. Okay, so that's still the oviduct here. Then this red structure on the dorsal side, retroperitoneal, its location is the kidneys. Okay, so those are kidneys. Okay. In male frogs, so these are not present, but instead you will see a yellowish paired structure that is located here, and that would be the testis. Okay, so then on the other side you'll see the eggs, okay, from the ovary, then it travels to this coiled structure, the oviduct. Okay, these are fat bodies. Okay, this structure here, this one is the spleen. This black brownish structure is the spleen. Okay, that's it.